My name's Sean Lee-Davies, and this is TYCOON Talk. Today, I'm spending some downtime with Dr. Aron Harilela, real estate and hospitality scion with a passion for polo and big shoes to fill as he now heads up the family business empire. Hong Kong is one of the wealthiest cities on the planet. I'm on a journey to meet the most successful business leaders who can inspire a new generation of entrepreneurs to help our city remain truly world-class. I also want to get behind the public persona and find out their secrets for extreme success. Born into a life of wealth and luxury as the only son of Hong Kong's most successful Indian businessman, Dr. Aron Harilela would seem to have it all. While he enjoys the trappings of a luxury lifestyle, including playing polo, Aron is very much a modern businessman, working hard to build and expand his father's legacy. Today, Aron finds himself juggling the needs of a hotel and property empire, being the de facto representative of the legendary Harilela family, and being the father of a newborn baby girl. I catch up with Aron at the iconic Harilela compound on Waterloo Road, which still today houses 4 generations of the family. The big family photo.
Yeah, once we got everybody here together, and it was a fantastic family shot. We haven't been able to get everybody together. They've come from all around the world.
How many people?
94. In this photograph, 94. We did go over 100, but that was later.
And where are you?
So I'm up here. This is
wow.
This is the first generation.
Okay.
So, my dad's elder brother, Uncle George, my father, his younger brother, and it goes on like this. So the wives of the first generation are in the green color saris. The daughters of the family are in the turquoise saris. Whoever's what we call daughter-in-laws in this family, they're in the pink saris. And so you differentiate everybody.
Big family.
A big family.
The rise of Aron's father, Dr. Harry Harilela, from tailor to tycoon, is a classic Hong Kong rags to riches story. It's a story worth repeating, and one that Aron is proud of. You have a gilded family history in Hong Kong. Can you tell us a little bit about your father and how he influenced you?
The Harilela history is one very much entwined with the Hong Kong history. My paternal grandfather was trading in Hong Kong, Shanghai and Canton much before he brought his family over here in the 1930s.
And the main business back then was tailoring, is that correct?
Actually, the main business then was selling of precious stones. We went into tailoring around the late 40s, early 50s.
And that's when your father, Dr. Harry, got involved with the tailoring business, and he expanded into that side with the British military, is that correct?
Yes, he was hawking out on the streets as a 7-year-old boy with his 2 brothers. They were selling razor blades, they were selling shorts, they were selling soap, anything that they could get their hands on to make a little bit of money. After hawking for a few years, my father started supplying uniforms to the British Army, and the relationship between the army and my dad and his family were extremely good. And at one point we were churning out 600 suits a day with 900 tailors here in Hong Kong.
600 suits a day?
Yes.
Incredible. That's a huge amount of manpower.
Actually, our shop had the whole frontage of the Imperial Hotel on Nathan Road.
Why did your father win that contract versus all the other Indian tailors and families here?
Actually, there was a big stigma about going into tailoring for the Indian community.
Really?
And when my father decided to enter it, a lot of the Indians, the Sindhis specifically in Hong Kong, were very averse to talking to him. He said, how could you enter such a low profession? He said, listen, I have to make my way to live. I see this as the way. I'm going to go against your prejudices and do what's right for my family. So he got into the tailoring industry through that.
Your father moved from the tailoring business into the hospitality business. What's interesting about that move is that he put everything into the hotel, the Golden Mile, and obviously profited immensely from it. That was quite a risky and bold move. Would you have done the same?
I'm a little bit more conservative than my father was. He certainly took a lot more risks. That was one of his major risks. It was at a time when Hong Kong was going through riots, but he still decided that he had faith in Hong Kong and he would reinvest in Hong Kong.
Almost like now, if you like, there's a bit of political uncertainty. In a way, you have to be bold to think about the future and maybe profit from it.
I think that's what my dad did very well, actually. He really thought about what a city, Hong Kong obviously in this particular case, would look like 5, 10, 15 years from now, and he believed in it quite greatly. As you see, all of our family are here. The mainstay of our business is here in Hong Kong. We've traditionally reinvested in Hong Kong, and that's precisely what I'm doing now.
Sadly, Dr. Harry Harilela passed away in December 2014 at the age of 92. He left behind not only a successful business empire, but also a legacy based on strong family ties, philanthropy, and community support. He was very humble, very much a people's man. How much did that upbringing that he had on the streets of Tsim Sha Tsui affect his business philosophy?
You know, as you rightly say, he was always wanted to engage with people, always wanted to speak to people. He was interested in what everybody wanted to say, and he was entirely engaging to anybody he met. That philosophy is certainly not only filtered onto me and the way we do business in my company, but if you look at the staff in the hotels, it's like a family unit. In the Golden Mile here in Hong Kong, we have staff members who have been with us since 1975. In Singapore, we've had staff members who've been with us since 1985 when that hotel opened.
What were the main lessons that your father taught you for business?
He was not overly concerned about making mistakes. He says everybody makes mistakes in their life. The other thing he did was he was quite forward-looking. And I think you have to be in real estate because real estate is a long-term prospect. And if you build only for today, tomorrow you're going to be outdated. And the third thing is he reinvested in his properties all the time. He wasn't scared of reinvesting.
Today, Aron is the chairman and CEO of the Harilela Group. The group's primary focus remains hotels, and they currently own 19 properties across the world. But it's the Holiday Inn Golden Mile that remains their flagship property. Aware of walking in his father's long shadow, Aron is now forging his own path. So your father made some bold moves and benefited from it, profited from it. Are you just going to carry on with his business principles, or are you going to make bold moves in your own style and create your own legacy?
One of the things we haven't done is run our own hotels. We have always looked to third-party managers. I think the next step is for us to manage our own properties.
And create your own brand.
And create our own brand. I'm building a hotel in Lockhart Road, and we will manage it ourselves under a name which we haven't created yet. So that will be, the first step in the journey.
Aron's 3 tips for business success are: build a good team. The people around you should be smarter than you are. Get involved, don't micromanage, but get interested in everything that's going on. And finally, you'll never have 100% of the information all the time, but at some point you have to make decisions and stick by them. Aron also believes in the benefits of keeping fit and is a keen sportsman. His particular passion is polo. Why do you play polo?
I like horses. I like riding horses. I've been playing sport all my life. I really enjoy sport, and it was a great combination of all the sports I played, and once you get into polo, there's no looking back.
Polo is also a great passport to the world, to meet other people in the sort of, if you like to call it, like top end of society. Do you benefit from that in terms of business dealings?
Not really. Not really. Actually, I think we keep our polo life very separate. Yes, we'll go and socialize, but once you're on the polo field, it is the best time to decompress. You think about absolutely nothing else.
It's quite a dangerous sport.
Don't tell my wife that.
Aron and his wife Laura married in a lavish ceremony in India in 2011. They now live in an annex of the Harilela compound with their baby girl Uma. I asked Laura what it's like to live with such a large family.
For me, at the beginning, I was unsure how it was going to work out, but actually it's quite nice. I mean, we each have our own apartments, so we have our own lives, but when we want to get all together, when we want to see each other, it's just so easy.
I must say, it's not so easy to move into a house like this, in which I was born here. You know, I'm so used to all the interaction, never being lonely on the one hand, and yet never having that much privacy on the other. I'm entirely used to it, but Laura came in and she integrated extremely easily in no time. It can't be an easy task.
And apparently there are up to 100 people that can live here in this mansion. What's it like living with all these different families?
You know, it was wonderful growing up here. There was always somebody to play with. Whether it was playing in the park or playing on your bicycles, you were never lonely. And if my parents were ever traveling away, I always had uncles and aunties, and I would just walk in. We have an open door policy. I'd just walk into their rooms, have breakfast, lunch, or dinner with them. So it was a spectacular experience growing up in this house.
Hong Kong's generally a very fast, business-oriented city. Is it conducive to having families?
For now, I've been mostly in the house, so it's not been so crazy busy. It's been actually quite quiet and quiet time with the baby and enjoying our the first few days. So it's actually been lovely, but I can see that it may get crazy later on.
How do you balance that work and responsibility that you have now with family life and, you know, relaxing?
You know, I think we have a problem in Hong Kong with the work-life balance. Fun is frowned upon in Hong Kong. You should be working, you should be thinking industriously, studiously, you should be in the office for many hours. And sometimes it's not necessarily the most productive thing. And I think fun is an integral element of life.
What do you think will make Aron a great business leader?
I think he has a good foresight. He has a good vision of where he wants to go and bring the business and the family towards.
What makes him a good father?
He's just like, he's so loving and he cares so much. So yeah, he's a great father already.
Oh, what a cry.
Don't get that.
But for you, what's harder? Being a father, running a business?
Definitely being a father. When you hold your little baby and you think to yourself, what's going to happen in 1, 2, 3, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, it's very hard to predict what's going to go on, but it's just every minute is just spectacular.
Join me in part 2 as Aron and I pay a visit to his other pride and joy, the Golden Mile in Tsim Sha Tsui. I also get Aron's views on the future of Hong Kong, and I challenge Aron to an evening game of tennis. Find out who wins. Welcome back to TYCOON TALK. I'm with Dr. Aron Harilela, scion of the legendary Dr. Harry Harilela. Aron has had a reputation as a bit of a bon vivant, but today he's the chairman of the family's hotel and hospitality empire, and he's a father. Aron also has a doctorate in political science, so I'm interested to get his take on the future of Hong Kong. That entrepreneurial spirit that your father showed, that you show, we got to reinvigorate parts of society so they believe that they can do the same. How would you go about doing that?
It's a hunger. The opportunities exist there, the connectivity exists there, the formidable city still exists beneath your feet. You need the corresponding hunger.
And you've come out and said that inaction is our biggest problem in Hong Kong.
It's all a question of engagement. You have to speak to everybody. You have to understand, you know, the youth are citizens of Hong Kong as is anybody else. If you don't engage them, you don't understand what their real grievances are about.
What can the business community do for the people of Hong Kong?
You know, Hong Kong is an economic city. Its foundations are economic. So I think the business community plays a very large role over here. We're certainly very visible. We're all around Hong Kong, and hopefully there's a little bit of influence that we could wield. I think it's just garnering support. What Hong Kong has is a great education system, but much more importantly, it is a formidable place. I was at a function the other day, and a politician, an ex-politician from a European country, had moved back to Hong Kong after a 4-year stint, and he said, you know, I'm so excited to come back here. Nobody had to persuade me more than 2 minutes. This city is formidable. You see the connectivity of this city. It's fabulous. If we could have that in Europe, we would be so excited. And I think that's something we should not forget about here in Hong Kong. A lot of people do forget how easy it is, how connected it is, how many opportunities that exist. You cannot forget the opportunities that exist here.
We talked about confidence. Are you confident about the future of Hong Kong?
Massively. Massively confident. I've just reinvested in Hong Kong. We're building another hotel here. I'd say there are many opportunities that have been brought to me. I said no to everyone. I said Hong Kong is our next focus. I think we can't lose sight of the fact that we have the independence of the judiciary, our own monetary authority, the rule of law, and common law. And if you understand the implications of all of those, it makes Hong Kong a wonderful city to live and to trade in.
We leave the Harilela mansion and head to the Holiday Inn Golden Mile in Tsim Sha Tsui. Opened in 1974 when Aron was just 4 years old, the hotel is something of a Hong Kong institution and remains perhaps the group's most valuable asset. On arrival, we're met by Brad Kirk, CEO of the Harilela Group, who takes us down to the newly renovated Executive Club Lounge. We're also joined by Anne Busfield, General Manager of the hotel. It's a chance to find out the latest trends in the hotel industry. Have you seen any changes in what customers expect in terms of trends, evolving trends for travelers?
We're certainly seeing a shift from a point of view of feeder markets coming through into Hong Kong at the moment. So we are seeing some feeder markets such as India growing and evolving very strongly, particularly since the beginning of the year. Europe is still a strong market for Hong Kong, and I think it always will be, but short haul is particularly growing through quite strongly at the moment. So countries such as Thailand, Indonesia, Taiwan, the Philippines as well, so we're actively targeting those markets.
You've just completed a big renovation,
yes.
And typically these renovations will be designed to last, what, 10, 15 years? So how do you forecast what a customer will want in 10 years' time?
Yeah, I guess I would say that future-proofing the rooms is the million-dollar question. It's the biggest challenge we face whenever we're about to spend millions of dollars on renovating any of our hotels, and it's trying to understand the customers you have and maybe the customers you want to go after.
Is it becoming harder to hire people in Hong Kong? There's been a sort of lot of noise or complaints about being able to hire good staff in Hong Kong because there are so many F&B outlets, there are so many hotels. Are you finding it difficult?
Is tremendously difficult compared to where it was 11 years ago. I even worked in Hong Kong 27 years ago, and at that time, you know, great employees were everywhere. Now, you actually have to create the great employees. They don't just come knocking on your door, and I think that's where the training programs have just improved immensely in a company like IHG and Holiday Inn, where you really have to take these rough diamonds and polish them up and turn them into your superstars, because it's tough. It's tough out there. There's a lot of competition.
And what's the hardest thing about running a hotel?
I think the most challenging thing is balancing, because obviously we have lots of different stakeholders in running a hotel. So we have our owners, we have our guests, we have our team, we have our corporate office as well. But that's what makes it fun as well. So it's great.
But it is also the most rewarding. You have to mingle all of these into one consolidated whole, and that's your picture. Moreover, actually, there's so much love you have for your own property. I know every carpet in this hotel. I probably know every wallpaper, and you get involved in absolutely everything. I can tell you the price of this cushion, for example.
What is the price of this cushion?
I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. But you get so involved in it, you put your heart and soul in it. There are not that many industries that you really put your heart and soul in.
Putting passion into work is certainly true for Aron. Outside, he tells me how for him, this hotel is like family. You've been invested in this business since the age of 4. You cut the ribbon when it opened. Is this your love and passion?
It is certainly my love and passion.
More than your wife?
I knew you would ask that question. Of course not more than my wife and my daughter, but...
Which comes more important, family or business?
how can you separate the two? You work for the fun of working, for the enjoyment of working. You work for your family. It's like coming home. It's the staff, they're like my family. The area, it's really like coming home. I've seen all the changes within. I've affected a lot of changes within. And it is just an amazing feeling every morning when I walk into the hotel.
Back to the Harilela compound, it's time for some R&R. I've challenged Aron to a game of tennis. And it's on the tennis court that I discover Aron's competitive spirit. We play well into the evening. And there's no special prize for guessing who wins. That was a great game, Aron. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the game. That was a hard workout.
I saw a bit of that competitive edge of yours.
You have to have it.
You have to have it. Do you find that you need it for business?
You know, I think you naturally want to succeed, whether it's on the court or in business. You want to get to the end. You want your goals to be reached.
Do you like losing?
Never.
Aron Harilela may have inherited the empire built by his late father, but clearly he's not content to just walk in his father's footsteps. While perhaps more risk-averse than Dr. Harry, Aron's competitive streak and views have impressed me, and his progressive outlook makes him well-placed to take the family business to the next level. Indeed, family is at the core of everything that Aron does, whether as a new father, the patriarch of the Harilela clan, or as the head of a growing family of Harilela hotels across the world.